Hello everybody, my name is Roxtus,
And I'm Soulgale.
and welcome back to Warframe.
Woo!
Ash How To. You ready?
Yes.
Alright.
I
So,
look like Genji.
you look like Genji. Oh yeah. Except for you need the gray and the green. You'll get a green blade, and you can just slash things apart.
Yeah, I don't have his blade though.
Oh, you do have green on your Warframe though.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I made him look like Genji on purpose.
Yeah. So, Ash, how do you get him? Ash is kind of unique, not too unique, but he's kind of unique. If you are going through your Proxima missions, these are just kind of the new ones that they handed out. These are for the Railjack. You have Venus. You can get his systems from any of those ground missions here, such as Defense, Exterminate, or Survival. You can get his systems. From Neptune, you get his neuroptics from any missions within here. And then from Pluto, you'll get his chassis. And then, of course, his main blueprints being within the market. You can just go through here, type in Ash, and you'll be able to pull up Ash's page and be able to acquire the blueprint right there in that page. Now, this is kind of interesting because usually when you drop a Warframe, Warframes are going to be from unique sources. So when you're taking a look at some of the Earth missions, let's say Pluto, you're looking at Hades, and this one drops Trinity. Now, this boss is specific just for dropping Trinity. And the same thing for pretty much all the other bosses within the field. And then when you're looking at something like, let's say, Ivara, Ivara is going to be specifically from level 1 to 15, 16 to, I believe it's 25, and then 26 plus spy missions. So you'll get the individual parts from each of those different type of spy missions. Now it's specifically spy missions because that's where, you know, her uniqueness comes in. Hey, I'm a spy type Warframe. I go and you go get me from spy type missions. That's unique. That's interesting. I like that because it actually drops from those spy type missions. And then something like Octavia, you get from doing some of these Lua missions, and you can go into the music room and you'll pop that, you know, that container on the very top of the music room, and you'll be able to get Octavia through kind of the Lua type missions. So I find those to be really unique because of where they're dropped, how they're dropped, and how that ties into the Warframe. You know, for Ivara, hey, it's a spy mission, you get Ivara. If you go to Octavia, you're going to go in and you're going to go to the music room, and you're going to go pop that chest, that cache, and you're going to get Octavia. Now, this doesn't tie in very well with Ash because there's already a Warframe that's already dropped here. If you go to Earth Proximas and there are some points of interest, you'll be able to see those as kind of like in the middle of the mission, there will be a point of interest that you can go to and you can go visit. There will be a 10% chance for it to drop Oberon within a point of interest. That is interesting because it's a unique way to introduce the Warframe. Hey, there's a point of interest, you go there, and it's interesting because it is a point of interest to be able to go into that place, into that area, and go and get Oberon. It's a 10% chance for each of his parts there. I believe also it also drops from Saturn as well for his chassis. So that is pretty interesting there. There are going to be some points of interest throughout each of these missions. But when you're looking at Ash, it isn't specific. It's literally you go into the mission, into any which one of these, and it just has to be a ground type mission, whether it be survival, defense, or an exterminate, something like that. And randomly you'll get them. It's not like, oh, you go to a point of interest, or you go into a spy mission, or you go into a music room and you pop the chest and you get it. It's completely random. Just putting a Warframe in here just to push these missions, just to be able to go, hey, you know, you need to go and do Veiled Proxima missions. I liked the old drop tables of the maniacs in Uranus. You get that one maniac that comes in your mission after 5 minutes, and he goes, wah ha 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 ha, and he comes in and he tries to kill you. and he's literally invisible and he's jumping around the room. He's literally the assassin trying to slit your throat. And then if you succeed in killing him, then you get Ash's components from that. I liked that. That was unique. That was actually interesting. Not this on the Veiled Proxima where it's just, let's just do a random mission and hopefully we'll get Ash. No, I really liked the Maniacs because it builds into Ash's character of this assassin trying to slit your throat. So I do not get why Ash is dropped in these missions. It's not unique. It's not interesting. It's blah. And especially for a lot of these Warframes, you should be dropping them from either a boss or from a unique point of interest, especially something like Ivara, I'll have to come back to several times. She drops from spy missions. This makes so much sense. Why is it that in Veiled Proxima do we get these random missions where Ash can drop from? And this was very annoying for me too, because I usually get my Ash drops from Maniacs, and I needed an Ash for my Hamlet. So I go in, I'm trying to get the chassis at a 4% chance drop chance, and I'm sitting there literally for 4 hours. And finally, after 4 hours, I finally get one drop chance of Ash. This is annoying. We need to change this to be to a point of interest where it's in consistency with the Ash, the Warframe's uniqueness. Hey, it's a stealth type, assassin type Warframe. Let's put him somewhere where it makes sense. Maybe even you could go throughout the star chart and go, hey, you know, he drops from several different level type of bosses. He has like a 1% chance of dropping from, you know, a boss in here, let's say War, and that he drops from all of the other bosses. That's an idea. But to just put him out in Veil, I don't feel like that resonates at all with how he actually should drop or how he should actually be portrayed as the Warframe. So to me, that doesn't make sense. Maybe it makes sense for you that he drops by Veiled Proxima. Let me know. Pop it in the comments. Maybe there's a better idea that we could actually have Ash drop from somewhere that actually makes sense. But yes, Ash. He is very much so the assassin. Shall we take a look at his abilities?
We shall.
Alrighty. The assassin. Passive. Bleed inflects on enemies do 25% increased damage and last 50% longer. So this is pretty good. I don't know about the 50% longer part. Bleed status effects lasts for 6 seconds, so this makes it last for a full 9 seconds. The 25% increased damage definitely does help, as bleed does do true damage. So you're looking at bleed doing 35% of your weapon's damage, whatever your weapon's modded damage is. 35% is multiplied therefore by 1.25, 25% stronger, being 43.75%. So basically your bleed procs almost do half of your weapon's damage, and bleed goes through, as I believe it's cinematic damage, whatever the terms are for that. It basically converts down to true damage. So true damage, 25% increased true damage for him is very good, because at higher levels, you get a lot of that armor, you get a lot of that penetration, and you're able to just kill at level 200s plus with this. This is very good, especially for his true damage. And like he's an assassin, and he's a very good one at that. So that passive does do very well, 25% increased damage off of true damage. Shuriken launches a spinning blade of pain, dealing high damage, impaling enemies to walls. Drain is 25 energy. Shurikens, he has 2 shurikens that he tosses out when he does this ability, and the damage for that is 500 slashing damage. This builds into your passive very, very well, because those slash procs will deal 25% increased damage. You'll actually notice when you're throwing these shurikens that you don't even have to look directly at the target. As soon as the target is on your screen and you start hitting this ability, those shurikens will home straight to wherever that target is. As long as Ash is somewhat facing in the right direction, you'll be able to throw it onto those targets and be able to hit those targets without you having to pretty much put your reticle on that unit and be like, hey, you need to hit this. He'll just automatically aim for those targets. So that's pretty good, because then you don't have to do as much looking as you usually would have to with any ability. When you do headshots with this also does double damage. That's pretty interesting, but I believe headshots already do double damage on a base. So this is pretty semi-accurate, especially he just automatically homes those shurikens. An assassin. A very good assassin. Smoke screen drops a smoke bomb that stuns enemies and obscures their visions, rendering Ash invisible for a very short time. Drain is 35 energy, duration is 8 seconds, and the radius that you actually stagger people around you is 10 meters. This is the same thing as a frost snow globe at adding 90% or basically 100% range at that point. This is a pretty good range because then if you are caught in the middle of a group of enemies and you don't want to get hit, you just hit this and it staggers all of them around you, making them so that they just can't attack you for a very short while. So that's pretty useful. But the duration here is pretty awful.
It is.
It needs to be increased. I don't know why, but Loki is so much more useful because he has 4 added seconds of duration on this, going from 8 seconds all the way to 12 seconds. So we really wish that Ash had a longer duration on this smoke screen. There's no reason why this shouldn't be longer. We always wish it could be longer, but it just isn't. It doesn't last for very long.
No.
So I wish it did last a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Teleport. Ash teleports forward to the target, bringing him close into melee range, and making enemies vulnerable to finishers. Drain is 25, and the range to cast and the range to actually teleport to that target is 60 meters. You need to be at least 60 meters away from a target to be able to latch onto them and be able to teleport right in front of them. The opening on this also, as soon as you hit teleport, opens them up to a finisher damage. So after you teleport, you can immediately hit whatever button it is to do a stealth attack or an interaction, and this will be able to do a stealth damage. So this is really, really useful for just being able to jump onto somebody and deal quite a bit of damage. And with the augment with this deals an insane amount of damage. So very useful to get in close range of a target. I wish it had a little bit more potential though for something like an assassination type mission, like Lock Krell I could think of, for instance, Sergeant Lock Krell. He's immune to all damages, and I would just kind of wish that this would just pop right through any immunities and was able to just stab right through that. This would be really cool, as he is basically an assassin type Warframe, and this would be kind of cool to see a little bit more viability with him, where, hey, you know what? I am an assassin, and the stalker just like spawns into your mission. And then Ash is just sitting there waiting. The stalker gets up, and then Ash is just waiting. And then Stalker starts to move, and then immediately teleport, and he just slits Stalker's throat, and he's just like holding Stalker's head there. That would be so cool. That would be so cool. This is an assassin type Warframe. He should be an assassin type Warframe.
Yeah.
I don't know why there isn't more play with this, but you know, this would be pretty cool to see him be more so of an assassin type Warframe. And Blade Storm, the assassin's duo, his death field, projecting a fierce shadow clones of Ash upon a group of distant enemies. Join in the fray using teleport. You can actually teleport to join your shadow clones in the bloodbath. And yeah, it's basically everyone on a killing spree. Drain is 0 at a base, energy per mark, so every time that you look at an enemy, there will be a red indicator that pops up above their head, showing that you have selected them as soon as you've pressed the ability. And when you move across the field, it'll select a whole bunch of enemies. You hit the button to deactivate, and then your shadow clones will start their fury of death blades. This basically just kills everyone in
bloodshed.
the range. So interesting things to note. There are 2 abilities that also pull into this ability, as it's already stated, using teleport. You can press the ability and you'll join in the fray, slitting throats, slashing backs, and dealing lots of damage. So that does work with teleport. You just hit 3 and you're able to just join into the fray of the bloodbath. And smokescreen also as well. As it says energy per mark here, invisible, your drain per unit that you have selected will be cut in half effectively. This is also why we wish the duration was a little bit longer, so you have more
Yeah.
time to actually select those units before you hit the button to join into the fray and start slaughtering people. So kind of wish that duration on the smoke screen was a little bit longer. But yeah, damage is 200 slash damage on a base. The range for this ability is 50 meters. If you have selected a unit after pressing the ability and you walk away more than 50 meters, it will automatically deselect that unit. So to reselect them, you have to move within range of that unit again, hovering your mouse over them, making sure that they are reselected, and then hit the button and deactivate the ability, making sure that everyone gets their throat slit. So again, they have to be within 50 meters range. Otherwise, they will be out of the area of effect, and therefore they will not get their throat slit. So very, very useful to know, especially for the range for that. Damage, I love this. This does true damage pretty much, and that does quite a bit of damage. Interesting things to note when you are using teleport. Teleport into this ability makes it so that you join in the fray. You are invincible during the time that you are actually slitting other people's throats. So it's basically like if you are in Dark Souls 3 or in Elden Ring, if you're doing a backstab on somebody, you are completely immune to all other forms of damage while you're performing that backstab in Dark Souls 3 and Elden Ring. This is pretty much the same thing here. You are just not taking any damage. You are in a whole animation phase and you cannot be hit. You cannot be targeted during this phase. So this is really, really nice. This Blade Storm has two different things that actually I have seen affect the damage. On top of adding power strength, of course, power strength actually adds more and more damage. The first thing is your combo counter. Every point that is added into your combo counter going beyond 1, so if you hit 2, adds a quarter damage into the base damage of this ability. It just gets multiplied by 25%. This stacks up to your full combo counter of 12, being 3.75 times damage multiplier if you can get the full combo. And with the Venka, this adds another 25% because the Venka adds another quarter damage. This is weird though, because the Venka is not even part of this ability, and yet it allows your base combo counter to exceed a maximum of 1 for the combo counter, but then it still procs off of the Venka. So you're thinking, okay, well maybe this is procced off of melee weapons, or basically procced off of weapon damage or weapon modifications. This is just not the case. The only other thing that I actually saw, the second thing that I saw that it was actually procced off of, is Steel Charge. Steel Charge adds 60% multiplicative with the Blade Storm. So it adds 1.6 times whatever your Blade Storm is, and that's multiplicative with your combo counter, as well as other buffs such as Rhino's Roar. So if you're doing the math behind it, you go base damage by, let's say, the Venka, or basically your combo counter. So whatever your combo counter is at. So combo counter can be at 3.75 if you have 12 times. And if you have 13 times, it has a 4 times multiplier. So by 13.75 or 4, depends on what your combo counter is. And then it's multiplicative with Steel Charge. So it's also multiplicative after that point by 1.6, or depending on how many people in your squad have Steel Charge, this can go up to 2.4 times, being a 3.6 times multiplier. 3.6? Yeah, 12, 24, 3.4 times multiplier, sorry. So by the combo multiplier, by Steel Charge, and then it can also be multiplied by other multipliers such as Rhino's fraction damage, which would be a 2.43 times multiplier. So that's the things that it can actually be affected by. The first thing being combo counter, the second thing being the Steel Charge, which adds melee damage, and then beyond that, it can be also applied by Rhino's Roar. This is interesting because you might think, okay, weapon modifiers, that should be able to affect this ability. No, only external add-ons. So this adds 60% melee damage, and it applies to all your melee weapons. So Blade Storm is apparently a melee weapon. It actually applies to this. So that's kind of interesting. But when you're taking a look at your weapon modifications, primed pressure point adds melee damage. Is that not added in to your Bladestorm? No, it's not, because this is semi-specific to the Galatine. It's not semi-specific to Bladestorm's damage. Bladestorm's damage is applied by Steel Charge because the Steel Charge is an aura affecting all melee damage done in the area. So Bladestorm is only affected by that. I wish though, because especially for the Venka actually adds that, as I've said, 1 times multiplier. It goes up instead of a 12 times multiplier. It goes all the way up to a 13 times multiplier. I wish instead of this confusion with the combo multiplier and Ash adding damage from your combo multiplier, instead of adding in the Venka and going, hey, you know, I get at least a quarter added damage from the Venka, I wish that they actually added on an exalted weapon so you could not have any more confusion on what this ability does or how its damage is actually affected. I wish that they actually added in an actual weapon. Maybe it's, a dagger, or maybe it's an arm blade or something like that, where he has his own version of Assassin's Creed where he can actually be dealing damage via Bladestorm. And they even have the what do they call the throwing knife?
Kunai?
The kunai. They even have the kunai in here. So I kind of wish that he had his own like kunai or something like that, where he was able to utilize that type of a blade, and that was his own exalted weapon, and that it had its own combo counter. It had its own damage based upon primed pressure point or whatever other mods that you want to put on that exalted weapon that would affect Bladestorm, instead of having this confusion. Because you do get confused when you look at the Venka, and the Venka's combo multiplier adds that 1 times, and you kind of go, why is it not affected by melee weapons? So this is very confusing. I wish they would just clear up the confusion with this. It used to apparently be affected by primed pressure point. I don't know if it does or if it doesn't, because every time that I go into Simulacron, it basically has me boot out, reload, and then it'll have to redo the math for everything every single time that you exit and enter into the Simulacron. It cannot live test things with Ash, apparently. I don't know why this is, but it cannot actually pull a live number from Ash. And especially if I change around my melee weapon, it'll actually, in the Simulacron, count Steel Charge as being removed from Ash, even though it's on Ash, whenever I swap out my melee weapon. So for being able to test this, it's very convoluted because it won't actually do a live test based upon whatever weapon I have equipped or whatever mods I have equipped, because I swap them out and then it completely removes pretty much the Steel Charge and or other mods from the equation. So I don't know what it's doing, but I did figure out, hey, it does do increased damage off of Steel Charge, but other than that, I can't tell because Simulacron is playing footsie with me, and I don't really like that because it says, hey, something is actually effective, and then I swap out my weapon, then it goes, oh wait, it's not affected, and I'm kind of like, you just said it was affected. It's just Simulacron playing footsie with me there, so I don't know what to say about that, but it is kind of infuriating because you're trying to actually figure out how the Bladestorm's damage is applied, and you're having to play with Simulacron, and that's just annoying. But yeah, other than that, shall we take a look at the build?
We shall.
Yes. All right. So I only have one build here. Whoa. What's this doing here?
What is it doing here?
Well, fatal teleport is pretty useful, so I'll actually say fatal teleport is pretty useful, but I would not use this type of build. I don't know what's going on here. We have a whole bunch of rage, different things. This is not effective. Don't pay attention to this. I have no idea what that is. This is the build we're looking at here for basically true damage. This does really, really well at positive to level 200 and positive. So this is really, really cool. Steel Charge, this does add a little bit of damage, 60% bonus damage to your Bladestorm. Bladestorm does do true damage with the slash damage going in here, basically bleed damage. Primed Sure-Footed, if you haven't seen the Trinity video already, go ahead and revisit that. It's nice not to get knocked down when you get knocked down. This is a very good tanky mod, just to make sure that you're on your feet all the time. Arcane Energize for adding more energy back when you hit an energy orb. Arcane Energize or Arcane Guardian for 75% damage reduction when you get hit. This adds 75% because you're adding 900 armor divided by 1200, you get 75% damage reduction. So this is very useful. We are going full efficiency just to make sure that we can just keep on popping Blade Storm and our other abilities without running out of energy. He has pretty low energy, same thing as Rhino. We don't want to be running out of energy here, so we're going to go 75% efficient. We're going to be adding on Umbral Vitality and Umbral Intensify for added 55% ability strength. These two pair with each other, meaning that Umbral Vitality ups Umbral Intensify from 44% on the base, adding 11% going to 55%, and Umbral Intensify also helps out Umbral Vitality by going from 100% to 130%. So these two pair very well with each other. I would always use this type of setup. Always on different types of Warframe, just depending on if they have armor or depending on what I need. So for this one, I definitely go with just these two. Primed Continuancy, because we are trying to negate Fleeting Expertise for our Smoke Bomb, trying to get our duration up for a little bit so that we can still use our 50% more efficiency for this type of a build. We are going to be using Transient Fortitude as well with Umbral Intensify, adding 110% added ability strength, but then this does negate some of our ability duration. So we do have 6.2 seconds on our duration here. We still wish that this had more duration on it. It's kind of sucky that Loki has more, but
yeah,
we'll live with it. We have Primed Flow for maximum battery. This makes sure, because he has such sucky energy, that we have at least some energy to spend on all of our abilities, making sure that we just never run out of energy. And then we are going to be using Rising Storm. Now, earlier I did say Fatal Teleport is a very good augment, and it is a very good augment if it is used toward one unit. This gives you 419 at this point, or basically 420% bonus finisher damage when you're using teleport on a unit. You do not have to press X, I believe, for this. This automatically does a finisher as soon as you hit the ability. So teleport will perform a finisher on the target, dealing 200% extra energy affected by ability strength. That's why it's at 420% right now. And 50% of the energy cost is refunded on a kill. So this is very useful for solo targets. If you're focused on one target like the Sergeant and you want to just slash him and kill him, you can use this and it'll just straight up instantaneously delete things. So this is useful, but not as useful as something like the Rising Storm. This does not get applied to your Blade Storm. I do not believe it gets applied to your Blade Storm. Again, I've been having issues with a similar con where it does not live test things, so I don't know for a certain fact. I wish it could be. This would add quite a bit of weapon damage when you're in the similar con using Blade Storm. This would effectively 4 times it if it was applied, but I have not seen any evidence to prove if this actually adds a 4 times multiplier to your Blade Storm. So this, I have not seen any evidence that this actually ups the damage on your Blade Storm. And if it did, I believe it would only be applied to Ash. So there again, it's not as useful, but we will be using Rising Storm. Rising Storm is a blade augment for your Blade Storm. Attacks increase your melee counter by 4. So every time that one of your guys stabs and does a stabby stab, he actually, on that unit that he jumps on, he does 3 stabs in a row. Each stab will add an additional 4 combo counter. This goes into 12 times. So this is very useful because in a very short amount of time, I believe it's only like 24 seconds or something like that, you'll be able to get from a 0 times combo counter multiplier to all the way to your 12 times combo counter multiplier, going from 0 times to a 3.7 times damage multiplier. This is very useful because then you're able to get your damage very, very quickly and very early. And then the passive on this adds a 10-second combo duration. So your base combo duration is always 5. This adds 10, making it 15 seconds that any of those stacks would potentially fall off. You can use Namron alongside this to make sure any of your further stacks don't fall off after that point. But I always use Namron, so I'm not very worried about my combo counter. It'll always stay right where it's at, or maybe drop down one. But other than that, our combo counter will be at maximized form. Smoke Shadow is not very good. Is the ability only lasts for 8 seconds. Smoke screen needs to be buffed here.
Yep.
This needs to have a longer duration. Just saying. And Seeking Shuriken is good, but you got to keep in mind that the bleed damage, even from his passive ability, adds 25% increased damage to bleed. Therefore, when you're looking at this augment, you do strip armor. Sure, yeah. But your Blade Storm and your Shuriken already do true damage. And at that point, you don't need to do an armor strip. You already have armor strip built in to your blades. And this only strips 2 targets. So definitely Blade Storm. And there are better armor strippers than just having Shuriken. So you have Nyx, you have Trinity, you have Mag, you have Frost. All of those frames are very good armor strippers. I would not be using Seeking Shuriken, as the Blade Storm already makes up for that true damage, basically ignoring all armor. This is the type of build I would go for. And if you are looking at Archon Shards, and if you're looking at completely annihilating anybody, adding on a full set of red power strength Crimson Shards would definitely do really, really well, because then you're basically adding another third to your bonus damage, basically going from 2/3 to 3/3 for your damage. It would add a good 50% increase in damage overall. But yes, other than that, I would love to see an exalted weapon for Ash. That would be so cool. That would be so very, very cool. Shall we test out this master?
We shall.
Assassin. He's a very good assassin.
And yes, I know I'm low level. It's just not having an infinity booster sucks.
Yes, I had an infinity booster. I will revel in it. I rolled my D&D dice and I got a nat 20. I love it when I roll a nat 20. It seems like it always happens too. Oh. So I do have the Galatine here with me today. This is a very good weapon, especially for Ash, because he does increase the bleed procs by 25%, and the Galatine is mained damage in slash damage. So this is pretty useful, but if you did want to, and you wanted to increase the damage even further, you could also use the Venko, because it does add that 1 times combo multiplier, because it goes up beyond 1. But yes. Whoa!
Whoa.
I am invulnerable. No. But yeah,
There we go.
that takes such a long time to do.
I'm joining the fray. Whee!
I wish the
That
smoke
makes
bomb.
me dizzy.
Oh yeah. I wish the smoke bomb lasted longer though. That's always been a thing.
Yeah. I also wish the smoke bomb lasted longer.
It is a good one. Whoa. My clones.
Your clones. I've always wondered for the longest time how you join in the fray, in the bloodbath.
Oh yeah. This is actually really cool too, because as soon as you hit higher levels, like level 200 plus, you're actually able to kill them. Oh, yeah. I can't even see my cinematic because I'm in the walls. It's like people are dying, but you just don't see it. I'm too good at my job. Wha-
Well, that kind of makes me sick a little bit by doing that.
Oh, yeah. I got an argon crystal.
Ooh, where?
It's up here.
Yeah. Alright. Now we just need ribbon silvers. Oh, that's what I wanted. And another Aryan crystal from somewhere.
Damn it.
Jeb. Huh, that would be really cool if he had like a hidden blade.
Oh, yeah. But especially, like, there's a lot of confusion right now to what does the ability actually do? You know, if it's not built off of melee mods and everything else.
Yeah.
And it is built off of the combo counter. So if I had the Venka right now, instead of having 12 times multiplier, I would have a 13. So it's kind of like, I wish he had his own weapon so there wasn't more confusion. You know, and anyway, his shadows already use a weapon of their own.
Yeah.
So it would make more sense to actually add on a weapon. Let's see here, what do they use? I can't even see. Yeah. Oh, should I go?
Yes, we shall.
It's like an arm blade or something. It looks like an arm blade.
I think it's a kunai. I think they're using a kunai.
Yeah, wouldn't it be cool to have like an exalted weapon that's just, you know, his basic kunai?
Yeah.
You know, and then you can mod it and do whatever else you want to do with it. It's like, I don't care if the weapon damage is nerfed, but just have something that's interesting for him.
Yeah.
You know? He will be Naruto.
He will be Naruto.
He will be Naruto. Wow, shall we go?
Yes.
Alrighty.
Another job well executed.
Alrighty. Well, that was Ash. He's really interesting. He doesn't really have as much area of effect as some other Warframes, such as Mag, definitely Mag, or any other Warframes separate for such of that matter. But For someone like Mag, though, you can pick up the entire room, you can move the entire room right in front of you. And for Ash, you have to select the entire room, so just it really is negative on the area of effect for him. He can still kill level 200s, though, even with that in mind. All he has to do is look around the room, take a second, and then hit the ability, and then he's able to just start slitting throats. Even at level 200s and plus, he is pretty good because he will be able to kill those units. But other than that, it's just kind of annoying to have to look around the room all the time to assess your targets and then to kill them. So
Yeah.
there again, I wish it was a little bit more fun in that term of gameplay, because every single time that you want to use Ash, you have to be looking around the room, be able to assess what targets you want to be able to take out, and then to kill them after that point. But other than that, he does do quite a bit of good damage, especially with what I've said about Archon Shards. You up his damage even more beyond the point that I currently have him, you'll be easily able to kill level 200s and positive. So he is a very good Master Assassin. I just wish that there was a little bit more that you were able to do with him in terms of just, you know, killing things or just moving around, but especially within something like Smoke Bomb, it does leave a little bit to be desired in terms of mobility, being able to move around the rooms. You are a ninja, in fact, and the Smoke Bomb only lasts 8 seconds, so that I could definitely see being a little bit buffed there, or maybe even adding in some movement speed here or there. Teleport is pretty useful, but you have to use it on a unit, so having something where you might be able to teleport to a faraway location without having to select a unit, that would be wonderful.
You can also use it on an extractor too.
Oh yeah. Extractors? Really?
Yeah.
Like
You-
the excavators?
Yeah,
Or-
the excavators.
the excavators, yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
And you just target them.
You
and
just
go.
target the excavator and it'll just teleport you to it.
Oh, well, that's interesting to know. But yes. Well, that is Ash. Is that all the time we have for this episode?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yes. And we will see you guys in the very next video. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.